Welcome to DeKalb Talks Tourism, and we're very excited on this show today to have Mayor Frank Auman of the City of Tucker. Welcome, Mayor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Happy to be here. Wow, well, all about myself. I turned 60 years old earlier this year, or earlier this month, and so
happy birthday!
Thank you. My history is getting longer and longer. I went to high school in DeKalb County. My wife was born and raised in Tucker. We have lived a couple of other places briefly, but basically this is our home and our hometown, and it's where we're from. So it's a good place to live and work and play and pray, as we like to say.
So you turned 60 at the end of this month?
No, I turned 60 a month ago.
A month ago. I say I turned 59 middle of next month.
Yeah, I got to own it.
Got to own it.
Yep.
Well, what got you interested in politics?
Well, I've always had an interest in politics from college years and since then, but honestly, might sound a little odd, I distinguish between politics and being the mayor of Tucker.
Okay.
I think of politics as much more, state and federal level and legislatures and things like that. Being the mayor of a city or serving on the city council, working in the very place where you live is a bit of a different animal. There's still political aspects to it, but it's a job. It's a good job and a happy job and one I'm glad to do. But I don't think of it as much in the sense of politics as I do some other things.
Now, were you an elected official or political or whatever you want to classify from a city? Or I know it wasn't in the city because you were the first mayor or the first mayor, but were you any other type of elected position before?
I never was. I worked in party politics a little bit. I volunteered in party politics a little bit, but never held elective office until I became the mayor of Tucker.
So when you woke up that morning and you decided you wanted to run for an office, how did you pick mayor versus a council person?
Well, it wasn't exactly like that. When we became a city, what we had to do was first get a bill passed by the legislature, and that bill called for a referendum of a popular vote of the people who lived in the proposed map of Tucker. So that happened in November of 2015, and when we won that referendum, it meant we were on our way to becoming a city. And one of the first things that had to be decided or thought about was somebody's got to be the mayor, somebody's got to serve on the city council. And honestly, the group of us who had been closest to that advocacy effort had not discussed it much at all.
Wow.
Who will run for what, or will any of us run for anything? And so literally on that night that we passed the referendum, we began to talk about it. And there was a lot of, no, you do it, kind of discussion around it. But it came together, and many from that original group of advocates for cityhood ended up on the city council and in other roles around the city as well.
So that's quite interesting. So you were involved in the movement to become a city. You're involved in working with the legislature to approve, I guess, the ballot to become a city. And then you became the first mayor of the city. I think that's quite impressive.
Well, it's certainly a unique position to have held, to have been involved in all that.
So tell us about some of your initiatives you'd like to see as mayor.
Well, I've learned a ton about how cities really work and how it is to work with a big group of people, other elected officials, but staff and the community and people who have expectations and their own lists of desires and things. So one thing that I learned in the beginning and has been especially valuable is we do a lot of planning as a city, a lot of really formal planning, meaning we hire a consultant, we seek out a lot of public input, we do the first thing is a comprehensive plan, and it's just what it sounds like. We called ours Tucker Tomorrow. It's a 10-year envisioning document about what kind of a place do we want to be, and what are our priorities, and what do we want to work on first within a kind of a vision. And it goes right down to some really specifics about we want to protect neighborhoods, and here's what that means. We want to enhance our downtown. Well, what do you do? And we made lists with a lot of good help. We're going to fix the sidewalks and build some sidewalks. We're going to work on the roads. We're going to work on beautification and safety and connectivity to downtown. So, I have my own priorities, but really the beginning is get all that input, come to some agreement so that we're not always discussing our priorities.
Right.
We can get past that and begin to execute on our priorities. And that's been a real rewarding part of it.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from the tourism perspective, you're the brainchild and the founder of Tucker Restaurant Week. This is its third year. I'm thinking it's one of the pride and joys of Tucker, but I mean, you really have done well with this.
Well, we have, and of course, I wish I could say that I was the brain trust and the creator and all of that. Of course, there were lots of other people involved, and as with a lot of things, I'm a bit of a cheerleader. I'm an encourager. I'm a pusher to get things done. But we got a lot of smart people, a lot of really enthusiastic people, including our business community. We do a lot of this planning, but we need to get them engaged, and we need to make it worth their while. So yeah, it's been a great event on many different levels. Just finished our biggest one ever, and we think it's just going to continue to grow.
Now, do you have any feedback from the restaurants yet, or from this event?
Yeah. Actually, we do a survey afterwards every year, get details about how it went for them, what could have been better, what they might do differently next year. We get lots of great feedback. They, first of all, appreciate the fact that we're paying attention, that we're thinking about their business and their business cycle. So we do it in February because we know, because they've told us that's typically a slow time of year for them anyway. So it's an opportunity to boost them during what would otherwise be a slow time, which enables them to participate and also brings people and revenues and energy during a time that they might otherwise be a lot slower and waiting for a better day.
So I know in 2022, you and your wife basically were able to attend pretty much every restaurant.
Yeah.
So how did you do this year?
Well, we didn't get them all this year. So the year you're talking about, I had this grand idea that my birthday happens to fall during restaurant week.
Oh.
And so I said to my wife, Gay, why don't we pick a restaurant? We'll have a big party and invite everybody and kind of have a kickoff, for restaurant week and get it all underway. And, of course, it took about 3 minutes to figure out that would just irritate the other restaurants, so we didn't choose. How are we going to pick one? And so I said, I know. Let's go to all of them. You and I will visit every single restaurant who's participating in Restaurant Week. So there were 17, and it was wonderful. It was fantastic, but grueling.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of eating. That was more than 3 a day for 5 days that we stopped in on. So this year, the year following that one, we actually had 8 new restaurants that opened in Tucker in the interim who participated in Restaurant Week, and there was just no way we were going to get to 25.
4 meals a day,
Yeah. We'd stop off and have a coffee here and a smoothie there and dessert in another place. But I don't know how many we went to this year, but we tried to hit all the new ones especially, as well as some standbys. And I think our council was a little inspired by the effort last year, and so we spread the love around that way and made a point for all of us to get to as many as we could, just to, not just put it on social media and remind people that it was going on, but to literally show our support in person for these men and women who, they work hard, they make a big investment, they take a big risk, because these are local restaurants, these are not the big chains. They employ people, they provide entertainment, so we want them to succeed, and we want them to know that we're doing what we can.
Well, the nice thing about Tucker Restaurant Week is it's a great economic development piece. It's a great social media piece. It's a great city branding piece. You have people from all around Metro coming in. We have the advertising that's promoting Tucker all around the Metro area to come in Atlanta Magazine, radio. So it's just a great opportunity to showcase what Tucker has, get you in to eat and get you in to see other aspects of Tucker. So really applaud you all. It's been a fun project for us. We've done it, I guess, 3 times. So it's been a great project for the CVB, great project for the city. The staff is unbelievable to work with. I know Sonia's been a dream to work with doing this program. So we're just very excited. So what other major events do you have going on in Tucker?
Well, Tucker loves its festivals in terms of entertainment sorts
Yes.
of events. We have about half a dozen every year. So next up, actually this year we're doing one for the first time on April the 15th called the Spring Fling. We're sort of kicking off baseball season at the Tucker Rec Center and Cover Park where they'll play this year. But also combined with that, just a great sort of festival day for everybody in the community. The biggest event of the year, the oldest event for sure, is Tucker Day, which is the second weekend in May. So plans are well underway for that. We're thrilled to be back from COVID. We had to cancel one year. I think we did 1 year at Labor Day because of the way things were going. So we're back on track, and man, we are hearing from people who want to get out. They want to participate in those things. They want to be outdoors. They want to be with their friends, and so we're super excited about that. One other one that I'll mention that maybe is not as widely known outside of Tucker, on the second Saturday of every month, starting in April, starting this Saturday, Tucker has something called the Cruise In. There's a big community of people in Tucker who collect and renovate and repair cars, mostly old cars, but really a wide variety. And so on the second Saturday of every month, we shut down Main Street. They bring in a couple hundred cars, and everyone's invited to just wander around, take advantage of the restaurants. We have an entertainment zone, so you can carry a drink from one side of the street to the other without being accosted by law enforcement or anything like that. It's just a great day, a great time to be outside and mingle, and that's once a month until the weather turns cold again. So always something going on Main Street in Tucker.
So I believe you're starting a new summer concert series.
We are. We actually began last year. We had our first one and learned a lot and kind of got our legs under us, and we are looking forward to that, called the First Friday concert series. So like once a month on Fridays, we'll have the schedule out real soon, get some great well-known bands from around the region. Many of them have their own following, and so we have what we still think of as a new green space called the Church Street Green Space in our downtown area. Same thing. You can avail yourself of the restaurants before or after. There'll be food trucks and things available there, and we just invite everybody to come sit in the grass and enjoy their neighbors and some great weather. So,
now, I know getting off the festival for just a minute, but you have a great new pathway being built downtown.
We do. And that was part of the planning that we did early on as a city. So after the comprehensive plan, we did a plan for transportation and one for parks and one for our downtown. We did one for trails that calls for a 32-mile trail network in the city of Tucker that also connects to trail systems outside the city of Tucker, our neighboring cities in DeKalb County and otherwise. So we just opened segment 1A of 32 miles. I think altogether it's probably a mile or less of a perpendicular pathway, one that runs parallel to Main Street and one that runs across that next to what will be another new park in our downtown area that we're super excited about. Runs along Railroad between Main Street and 2nd Street. You can see it now. The space is cleared. We're putting some sod in there to make a attractive green space in the meantime. But big plans to build that park out into a real centerpiece for our city. So the trail is open, and we encourage folks to use it. And we have other aspects, other pieces of that trail extending from there all around the city.
Now, I believe a year or so ago, you have a park that you started a beekeeping program in.
Yeah, we have the Tucker Nature Preserve, which is specifically we call a passive park, meaning there's not playgrounds and ball fields and that sort of thing. It's designed to be a place to enjoy and to learn about nature. And we had a cadre of people who are especially interested in bees and beekeeping and honey production. And so, I don't know, we brought in 2 hives of 50,000 bees each or something. It's a great, very unique attraction, but a great opportunity to educate and draw people out to just enjoy the outdoors and learn about food sources and pollination and trees and plants and how they all interact.
Well, I got to ask, have you put that white suit on and the gloves and moved around and tried to find the queen bee?
I have to say I have not. Thanks for bringing that up, because I'll probably get volunteered for it pretty soon. But no, I have not. But they tell me that people who do this know how bees behave and so forth, and they don't see any real danger in it at all, and they invite kids to get right up close and to be part of all that. So like anything, you got to know what you're doing, but no, I'm going to leave that to
Well, I had to ask because my son decided he wanted to start a bee club at his high school, and I was in the outfits and trying to find the queen, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think you don't want to find the queen. I'm not sure.
We had to mark the queen,
Oh,
and luckily the second go around I bought a queen already marked, so
got it.
much better. But moving on, like to, and before I move on off of events, is there any other type of or major Tucker events you would like to talk about before I move off of the event subject?
Well, yeah, I'll mention one other. So before Tucker was a city, there were events on Main Street in Tucker, and of course then they were all run by volunteer groups, and we have some amazing volunteer groups who contribute in a million ways. So when we came on as a city, part of our philosophy was we don't want to get in the way of that. We don't want to interrupt what people are doing well and that they're passionate about and doing a great job at. So those have kind of rolled on, but we did add to that we call it Independence Day celebration, which we specifically don't call the July 4th celebration because we do ours on July the 3rd.
Right.
Actually, it's a good story because we sort of decided the first year that we wanted to do it, we were a little late in the game trying to find a fireworks company to come and put on the show for us. And when we found one, they said, well, we're booked on the 4th of July, but we're going to be nearby. And if you want to do one on the 3rd of July, we'll do it for half price. So we did. And not only did it turn out, not only did we save a lot of money, but the folks who came thought, wow, what a great idea, because then I get to have my holiday on the 4th. I don't have to get up and go to work the next day on the 5th. Yeah. It's become tremendously popular. I think we had approaching 10,000 people last year on Main Street and around there on the 3rd of July. So we have stuck with it in the years since. And so we have our Independence Day Fireworks Spectacular, I think is the actual name. And again, all are invited. You can see it from a long way away. We welcome you to come sit on Main Street or one of the nearby places, but there's lots of places you can see it from. So we encourage everyone to turn out.
So everybody listening to this podcast, please put down July the 3rd, downtown Tucker. And you can go to July the 4th in one of our other mini cities.
Right. If you love fireworks, you can see them 2 nights in a row.
So I believe I'm correct when I say you've expanded some Christmas events.
We did. We took our Christmas event in a little bit of a new direction. I mentioned the Church Street Green Space, as we call it. So this past Christmas season, we had a 25, 30-foot tall Christmas tree down there, fully decorated. We included, there's a menorah that is part of that celebration. You know that the dates of Hanukkah coincide or come nearby Christmas, and so some friends from the city help us to manage that and make sure that we're getting it right and being respectful of all those people who celebrate different ways. And so we had a big night. I don't know if we called it Christmas on Main or something to that effect, but my impression and what I heard repeatedly was it was a very Hallmarky kind of event. It was, there were funnel cakes and hot chocolate. There were dance troupes from local dance studios. Santa showed up. There were games and things to play. And it was a great time. So yeah, that has become a tradition. And I think if we tried to not host that, we would have people knocking on our doors.
You mentioned Hallmark. I think Tucker downtown is like a perfect Hallmark downtown. Year round, not just at Christmas, just year round.
Yeah, it's developed its own energy and its own vibe. And by the way, before I forget again, thank you to Discover DeKalb for helping with Tucker Week. And you mentioned the sort of reputation that it gives Tucker in the larger metro region and even beyond. I hear people talk about Tucker elsewhere. And when I go elsewhere and tell people I'm from Tucker, I often hear, Tucker's got a great restaurant scene, or Tucker's really going places. And that happens because Tucker Restaurant Week, among other things, gives us an opportunity to talk about who we are and what we do in a much bigger platform than we would have otherwise. So yeah, it's people know Tucker. People make the trip to Tucker. We have enough sort of critical mass downtown that people will say, let's go to Tucker, and then we'll figure out where we're going to eat because there's lots of choices there. So yeah.
Well, we love hearing that. What's cool, too, is besides the great places to eat, you got a couple brand new dessert places.
We do. I sat, actually during restaurant week, I sat on the sidewalk outside Las Colinas, which is a Mexican restaurant on Main Street. And next door to it is a new cookie place, Munster Cravings, and next to them, a genuine bakery, cakes and all sorts of desserts and things. And we sat there and watched people pour in and out of both of those places over the course of a couple hours, and we're just really pleased to see them having success and adding to the options and the vibe that happens down there in Main Street. So.
Well, I was lucky enough before I started my diet, which I can't eat any of that now after the 2nd of January, but we went right after it opened, both of them. In fact, I went for one not knowing the other one had opened.
Yeah.
So ended up going to both places and got like donuts and cookies and some type of Russian pastry, I think.
Yeah.
So it was very cool. Definitely a place to go eat and then go have dessert.
We have desserts in Tucker. In addition to those couple of cocoa cakes participated. They're a tremendously popular place and well known outside the city of Tucker. One of the places that opened since last year's, I call it Food Week, Restaurant Week. Sorry. Is called V-Taste Cakes, which is a vegan bakery and produces things that if dietary concerns like gluten and other particular needs are a concern for an individual, they make things that you would never know were specially made in that way. And so they've been very successful. They participated in Restaurant Week, gave good reviews about people who came by. So, yeah.
And where is it? I missed that one.
It's walking distance from where we're sitting. It's right in, if you know where another one of our top restaurants called Farmed.
Oh, yeah.
And Prep and the Schuler Institute. It's
like literally across the street.
They share space with them. They have a little storefront. You can walk in there anytime during the day. And
that's not good to know now.
Yeah, right. So
if I can get vegan, that means I can probably at least have a little bit of it.
Yep. Yeah.
So
great job.
I'm not vegan. I'm more of a keto, I guess. No sugar and no carbs, but still, right across the street.
You got sugar-free cookies.
Well, the other thing that actually I believe won an award a year or two ago was community cup.
Corner Cup.
Thank you. Corner Cup.
Love them.
So they have one literally in Tucker, the other one kind of in Tucker.
Right on the edge.
Right on the edge.
It's called Pea Ridge is the historic name of that area.
So I believe they literally won #1 coffee in Metro Atlanta.
I think they did. When the public is asked to vote on their favorite whatever it is, Tucker turns out. And, when Main Street was not as developed as it is now in terms of the restaurant scene and all that, everybody in town said, man, we need a great coffee shop on Main Street. You just have to have one. And you could not have imagined or drawn up a better vision of the kind of coffee shop that you want to have. Corner Cup moved in, and from the jump, they were everybody's go-to place. And so you see kids in there studying, you see old folks like me and you getting some work done, having a meeting, just kicking back, enjoying the afternoon. So, yeah. They're a real asset to us, and we appreciate them.
Well, Mayor, you were able to get a vegan place right across the street. Can you get us a great coffee shop?
Well, here in the complex.
Yeah, like right here.
We're actually, you might be surprised that there's some work being done on that.
Oh, man, because I'm a huge coffee person, so I would love that.
Yeah.
You got great events in Tucker, but what are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges you see going forward? What are those big items?
Well, getting better at the things we do, at the core things that we're called to. So really, people express it different ways, but quality of life is the reason we exist, right? To make a better quality of life for the people who live in Tucker. And so we don't just recruit restaurants because we like to eat. It adds to the character of Tucker. The trail system, our park system, resurfacing roads. Some of that stuff is pretty mundane, and people don't necessarily they're not able to point at it and say, that's why Tucker is a great place. But you do notice when you come into Tucker, it's a little cleaner. The roads are a little smoother. The sidewalks are a little more plentiful than other places that you visit. And that's because we're really focused on those things. And so opportunity and challenge both to stay on those, to commit ourselves to continuing to do better, spend our money wisely, get them in the places that matter and benefit people, and just kind of keep going. We just passed our 7th birthday as a city. There's no limit, and there's no end to the improvements we can continue to make. So there's always something new tomorrow.
I get asked all the time, constantly, about North Lake Mall. Is there anything you can share to our listeners about what's going on at North Lake?
Yeah, it's a super exciting thing, and it's actually a great example of the kind of thing a city can do. The mall was owned by Simon Properties for a long time, big mall operator. But just about the time we became a city, the mall was purchased by a smaller development firm out of Dallas, whose idea was, and their experience was, taking old malls. We all know that malls are not what they were in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s. The internet's changed that. A lot of things have changed that have decreased the appeal of malls, and they began to suffer. And so this group envisioned some ways to turn malls into a little bit of a different kind of property. And so what they have been doing, and you're starting to see the visible results of it now, is turning into more of an employment center. It'll have amenities that the people who work there want to have nearby, so restaurants and other services and shops, places to exercise, personal services, nails and hair, and those kinds of things. And so the first big tenant in there is Emory Healthcare. Mm-hmm. I don't know today how many people are on the location. Well over 1,000 Emory employees go there to work every day. And there'll be some other employers in there as well. And so it becomes a sort of more of a mixed use kind of a environment. So you see Lynn's Crafters is building an out parcel there. The CDC Credit Union has built a place there. You'll see more stuff on the outside. There'll be some new restaurants there. So it's very exciting and a great way to keep a really important property vital and connected to the city and providing employment and recreation and all of those things. It'll also be good for the surrounding area. It's already catalyzing other retail and restaurant and different kinds of businesses in the area. Great location on the highway. So we support them every way we can to move them ahead and do more and more to enliven that area.
Well, what's really cool, if I'm correct, the mall moved into the city of Tucker. Then the Michaels area moved into Tucker, and the Publix area at Briarcliff Village, I believe, moved in. So it's very cool when these areas are asking to come into the city. It expands the city, expands the revenues of the city. But then, like you said, the mall is transforming into a catalyst for people to go out and eat from Emory, or it's going to soon be a place for other people to go and dine or go to other activities in the mall. So it really is a great thing for Tucker to have this.
Yeah, well, and thanks for noticing, as you say, all those properties that you mentioned annexed themselves into Tucker after we became a city. They were not originally within the city limits. But because of the things that we've been talking about that we can do and that we pay attention to, it's easier for them to work with business licensing and construction permitting and zoning matters and all the stuff that's nuts and bolts that most people don't pause on or think about much. But if you own a 500,000 square foot mall and you got tenants coming and going and all that, it's really important. If we can be responsive to build a sidewalk or fill a gap where there is no sidewalk, it can make a huge difference, and that's what we can do in the city that's harder to do with governments that are bigger and farther removed from where you are day to day.
Now, the new trail system, is it going to come over near the mall?
It's going to go. So this new trail that we just opened, the segment downtown, is going to connect directly to North Lake Mall. It's about a 6-mile segment. The good news and the bad news is we've gotten a lot of federal funding to help with the cost of that. The bad news of that is there's more requirements and it takes longer. But
True.
It's underway. That's one of the segments that we're working on engineering right now, and we are working just as fast as we can go. And that's part of the idea of those trails, is for a person to be able to get on a bike or walk away from traffic to get to the places that they care about. might be the library, might be the mall, might be Fitzgerald Field, our youth sports venue. We're connecting all those places and giving people lots of options on how to get there and make it easier. You know, instead of a 10-minute ride in your car and you circle around looking for a parking space, you can take a 10-minute walk and be right where you want to be.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Fitzgerald Field. Earlier on, I was thinking about asking about that. So tell us about the renovations or the plan of renovations for the future at the field. Or tell everybody where it is, too.
Yeah, well, it's right on the edge of the city near the intersection of Mountain Industrial and Lawrenceville Highway, very close to the county line and the edge of our city limits. It's really a great story. It was privately owned. That whole, the physical property and the football league that operated from there was private. And after we became a city, they actually approached us and said, we think there's a better way to do this. We want to give you the land. We want to give you ownership of the property in exchange for you, the city, spending a bunch of money to renovate it, to bring it up some things that it's needed for a lot of years, and make it more appealing. And so Tucker Football League has been there since the 50s, been very successful, had a lot of great players whose names you'd know came out of there, played college, played pro ball. About 3 years ago, we restarted baseball at Fitzgerald Field for the first time in 15 years. And it's just an awesome thing. We literally, I've stood there at games with guys who played there and are now there watching their sons and daughters play baseball and softball there, and remembering and feeling those roots, you know, of being connected to a place for a long time. So today, if you were to go out to Fitzgerald Field, it's a mess because we have torn it up to rebuild it. We've torn up all the asphalt, all the infrastructure like stormwater and drainage and sewer and water. We're putting it back. We're renovating every field out there to include a turfed field for the stadium football, state-of-the-art lights, LED lights that are aimable, if you will. Follow something called the Dark Skies Protocol, which is an ominous sounding thing. But it means you can point the lights at the field and illuminate the field, but 15 feet away, it's dark.
Oh, okay.
And so the neighbors don't have complaints about light pollution. We're doing the same thing with sound and a cool scoreboard. So if you're at the field, you hear all the sound and you get the advantage of that, but it doesn't carry the way some old systems did. So we're super excited about it. It'll be done later this year, but the old saying is you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. We have been breaking eggs all over Fitzgerald Field for several months, and we've got most of the rest of this year to go.
So if I'm correct, you can play football, soccer, lacrosse, rugby, about 11 different rectangular sports.
Yeah, the fields are multi-use. We run, so Tucker Football League still runs itself under its own board. The city is running the baseball league. We're adding other sports. We invite other league operators in to use the facilities within our parameters. We'll also be able to use it for festivals and things out there. We can, on that turf field, we can have a concert with a big scoreboard that shows live camera views and that sort of thing. So when it's done, what our Parks Department has said is it will be the place everybody wants to play because it'll be state-of-the-art in every way. And we're closing in on the date.
Well, the good thing is the rain won't, other than the rain right during the game, it won't matter because with turf you're fine. You can go from football straight to a concert.
That's exactly right.
So it's just a great thing that you all have done for the city, for sports, for community activities.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited about it. And you're exactly right. We can do more than one thing in a day. If they practice right after it rained, it doesn't make it into a mud hole. So, yeah, lots of advantages.
Well, the interesting with sports, it's not just a team, it's not just youth, it's actually, it helps the health and wellness of the community. So doing that is really great for the citizens of Tucker.
Yeah, we want to give them every opportunity.
And we love it from the aspect of that, plus to be able to bring more people into play, stay in more hotels, eat more, drink more, buy more gas, everything in there. So it's a great thing you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's a big economic development driver because people who would consider relocating into Tucker see that those things exist in the place where they would live. And it's, as you say, relative to tourism, we have TISA that's been operating out in Henderson Park for a long time. When they have those big tournaments, there are hundreds and hundreds of families who come, and certainly we hope they're staying in a Tucker hotel and eating in a Tucker restaurant and telling their friends what a great place Tucker is. It's all good.
Well, what's interesting about that is we're actually dealing with Sonia right now, working on a list of Tucker restaurants that we can send to Tysa for all the people coming in to be able to know where they can go eat and get specials or deals or whatever to promote the restaurants in Tucker's. There are big events later this fall.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny thing when you're a city in an urban or a semi-urban area. It's not like the county seat in a rural county where you know when you're in that city and when you've left it. We border other cities. We border unincorporated DeKalb, but we want, again, those restaurants, hotels, every business who chooses to invest and take their business risk in Tucker, we want to do everything we can to point customers to them. So, when somebody comes to a tournament at Fitzgerald or Henderson or Kofor, we want to steer them to our own. And have them spend their money in the people who are taking their risk here in Tucker. So,
well, the nice thing with like Tysa, the Tucker or Triumph Cup, is they play at Henderson Park and then they also play at Granite Park, I believe.
Yep.
Now they're on the other side of Tucker, I guess, in a sense.
Yep.
So you've got opportunities to bring people to all different aspects of restaurants in Tucker.
Yep.
And we have great hotel facilities that really are the perfect type for sports families.
Yep.
So everything just fits nicely.
Yeah. And we work every day to make it a little bit better and keep ratcheting up our game.
Well, another hidden gem that many people may not realize is actually Emory Spine Hospital.
Yep.
You can't go there if you have an emergency, but I know we book a lot of rooms on longer periods of time for recovery from Emory Spine Hospital right there on Lawrenceville Highway.
Yep. Yeah, one of their top performing facilities from their financial point of view, but also medical success and so on. It's got a big reputation, and we just are thrilled to have them here. And it's the kind of thing we make a point to focus on. We don't want to forget them. We don't want to take them for granted. We want to improve the area where they are and encourage people to locate offices, stay there when they have a family member as a patient. Yeah.
So it is definitely a hidden gem for the city. So as we're starting to wrap up, what type of advice would you give, or what's the best advice you received or advice you would give somebody interested in politics or interested in working with the city?
Well, if I was talking to somebody who was interested in getting into elective office in the city, I would say something like I was saying earlier. You need to think of it less as politics and more as public service, right?
Yep.
These are hard jobs, and you can take some grief because everybody doesn't get it.
Right.
So you need to know that going in, and you need to commit yourself to a little bit of your own philosophy. How do you intend to conduct yourself, and how do you intend to relate to your constituents, and so you don't get surprised. And you have to develop a lot of patience because things take a lot longer and cost a lot more than you thought in the beginning. I would say maybe one of the most gratifying things is there is literally a kind of magic that happens on a city council or in a public meeting when people are genuinely open to hearing what other people think and how they think something ought to be done or what's important to them about whatever the project is. We're gonna rebuild this park. What does it need to contain? How does it need to relate to the people who will visit there? It is amazing when you really let that go and you let people talk and people are willing to hear something other than what they came to the table with. Man, we've done some great projects that wouldn't have happened any other way. We really considered it all and put it all together, and nobody had ownership, like, if it's not my way, it's not going to be okay. It's some great stuff, and it's really gratifying to be able to work in the place where the thing happens and you can see the results of it. It's very tangible. And you get to say, I had a part in that, and I get to use it because I live here. I get to walk down that sidewalk. I get to go in that restaurant. It's a very rewarding feeling to be involved in something like that.
Very interesting. So we're about to wrap up. Do you have any last comments or last events or last anything, a story you want to share?
So many stories. I told myself when I became mayor, I really want to keep a journal. You know, I need to write down every day, but I never have, and it's just not enough time. But I do have a box of, I just throw things in there, things that come across my desk, events we attended or put on or what have you. So lots and lots of stories. I don't know. I'm a promoter of Tucker. I'm excited about our future. A lot of what we have done is recognizing that the city's going to be around for 100 years, and we need to build it and conduct ourselves in a way that when people say that's the way it's always been done, that's a good thing. Yep. And not just something rooted in that's the way it's always been done. So we're conscious of those kinds of things. And when I'm through being mayor, I'm fully confident that we'll have people follow in that role and in city council and in our staff and otherwise who will remember and understand what we call the Tucker way and, work together. That's our plan, Tucker together, and that's what we're working out, and I hope that's always what we're working out.
Well, I can see when you're done being mayor, you've already started the future book. Stories from the first mayor of Tucker, the Tucker way.
Yeah. Well, there are going to be a lot of people in it. There have been so many who've come and gone and stayed and moved on. It's a very organic thing, and it's a real pleasure to be in the center of it.
Well, using that, Mayor, it's been a great pleasure having you on our show. Welcome you back anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, appreciate your work for us and being our neighbor.
Thank you.